get her plug and turn it on.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and get started. 6:02. I'd like to welcome everyone, council members, guests, staff, to our regular business meeting for the month of July. Go ahead with the adoption of the agenda. If everyone had a chance to look at the agendas, got any problems with it?
I make a motion we approve that agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to our public comment portion. Joe Ventrice with the Red Cross. Hey, Joe.
Hey,
Good afternoon.
before I talk Red Cross a little bit, I just wanted to say my grandkids have been here for the past 3 weeks, and we've been having a great time in town with the facilities and programs that this place offers. So I just want to say thank you to you guys for supporting all that there is here in Burnsville. It makes it easy for a grandparent to spoil their grandkids, so thank you. Red Cross, we have not had any calls from the Yancey County in months for fire support from the Red Cross. We have had from Mitchell County, my wife and I support both the Yancey and Mitchell. So there's reasons for that, I'm sure. Hopefully it's less fires. But what we did the last time we had a call in Mitchell County was, I thought, pretty neat. Of course, my wife thought of this, not me. She, besides the Red Cross support, which is financial, medical, you lose medical equipment, CPAP machines, whatever, Red Cross will replace it for you if there was a fire. But we added on calling up Tractor, and Tractor said, sure, we'll donate, their green stuff, good food. Then we went to Reconciliation House, and they donated more. So when we got to the client in Mitchell County, we had not only the Red Cross support, but all this other support from here in this county. And they were just so appreciative. There's just a lot to be said about that, to be able to help somebody that just lost their home of 50 years, and now, the support that we can give them. So we're going to try to do that every time we get a fire call. It's not only the Red Cross support, but the other support that there is in this town. So the last thing, Battle of the Badges is coming. It's August 19th. We can sign up to donate. I have some sheets that I'll just run real quick and give each of you. Chad has agreed to put it up in a few places and on the website. But this is a good opportunity. I'm going to meet with Niles tomorrow morning with the Red Cross ladies, and we're going to do a little more planning. But this is the big blood drive. So anybody that can donate, please consider donating on the 19th, and it's at the Burnsville Fire Department.
Thank you, Jeff. Miss Lucy Dahl.
Hi, two things, real briefly. I have tickets for the Michael Reno Herald concert, which is a week from Friday. Here, he's the funniest guy. It would cost you about $200 to see him at the Jonesboro Storytelling Festival. And this benefits the Lions Club, which gives free eye exams and glasses to people who can't afford them. So it's a good cause, and y'all need to come. And Corbin's got tickets in the office too. The other thing is the Old Timey Fall Festival. I think because it hasn't happened for the last 2 years, people really don't know that they can come and show their craft and feed people, whatnot. And if anybody in the room has a business where we could put out vendor applications so that people could fill them out and send in a check to get a booth, we'll be happy to take them. I think I have about 55 spaces left, including for food vendors. And we need more food vendors because right now all we got is pretzels. That is not enough for me. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Mr. Danny McIntosh.
Can I have Lucy's name 48 cents?
Sure.
If Michael Reno Harold don't tip you funny bone, you need to check to see if you can read it. He's quite an entertainer. I was sad to hear that there was no public input on the budget. And good to see Denise and Bill back. Hope y'all are feeling better. What I would say about the budget is you know I appreciate the hard work on it. It's not easy. And I think the budget is certainly reasonable, and the cost of living adjustment is reasonable. Your water rate increase is modest. I know that the Division of Water Quality is probably pushing on you to ask for more. That's what they're in the habit of. So they understand the way that systems operate and what it costs and all that kind of thing. So that's really all I wanted to say. Sorry I couldn't get here last month. Work got in the way of my recreation here, so I miss it. But thank y'all for your hard work.
Thank you, Danny. All right, that concludes our public comment portion of the meeting. We'll move on to item number 3. Everybody had a chance to look at the meetings the minutes from the June meeting. Any questions, comments on that? No, we got a
Motion to adopt, Mr. Mayor. Second.
Everyone in favor? Motion passes, Chad.
Thank you.
All right, item number 4, public hearing on noise ordinance. We got, let Brian give a report on that before we go into
Okay,
public hearing.
we discussed at the last meeting about where our current ordinance was, and that we had certain events and certain businesses that were looking for maybe some leeway with that, but then maybe certain hours to certain decibel ranges. There's been a lot of ideas out there, certain things. Our current ordinance really basically says if you're making noise that bothers someone else, that's illegal 24/7. There is no exception, is currently what we have, and the town even sponsors some events, fireworks, military funerals, along with these entertainment venues that are already in violation of that. So the question came about trying to figure out a path forward to seeing if some exceptions, some alterations need to be made to that ordinance to allow some of these things. And then I produced for the council before the last meeting some possible exceptions. Some of those had to do, again, with some of those things I just mentioned, fireworks and military funerals and those kinds of things, festivals, like our craft fair that's coming up, the music that's provided there for festivals and parades and those kinds of things. But along with that was a proposal for just starting the discussion of making an exception for commercial business entertainment establishments between the hours of 9 and 9, of allowing that. And then that was kind of the discussion started to see how you all felt about it. The mayor felt it would be a good idea to get public input on that. And so that's where we are tonight, to have the opportunity for the public to speak. And if you all maybe make some decisions about whether that needs to be changed or altered or added to.
Thank you for your work on that, Chief. Do I have a motion to go into public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor? All right. First up to speak will be Danny McIntosh.
I think that the noise ordinance certainly is useful and necessary, and don't have any actual input on what the criteria might be. And I know there's some folk here in the audience that does have a vested interest in what might happen here tonight, and I certainly hope that they're going to be heard. I don't know if they've signed up for public comment or not. But I know personally, around my house, I don't really have a noise problem. We have the general noises of children playing, fireworks every once in a while. Sometimes you can get a wafted few strands of music from the squire or maybe from John, but there's nothing there's any real problem. I think things are pretty reasonable, but I'm confident that you folks are gonna work it out. Probably a no-win situation, but I appreciate y'all giving it your best shot.
Thank you, Danny. All right, Mr. John Silver.
Well, Danny's always a hard act to follow. I wish I could be as good at public speaking as him. Hey everybody, I'm John with Home Place. For anybody that doesn't know me, I think I've probably met you, Randy, and Bill, I don't think I've met you yet, but good to see you. Just want to thank the town for taking this on. It's kind of a tricky issue, and I think there's certainly valid concerns from both business interests and private interests. So just being willing to jump into this and do due diligence is it's a good step forward for the town. The town's growing. There's a lot of new visitors coming to our area, and a lot of times what they expect to find when they come to our area is a vibrant city life, a vibrant town, and oftentimes that does include music and events. So just getting a handle and getting some parameters around what this means is a really good thing. It's my hope and understanding that the sound decibel levels that we have been, that's been coming from Home Place for some of our live music events are somewhere in the range of acceptable standards that have been established in other towns and municipalities. I know that's something that Brian and his guys have been taking on. I'm anxious to learn about what's been discovered and how we might improve that. One of the things we've been able to do with our new stage is we've added 2 full-time jobs to monitoring the production and the sound each night that we have music, and it's a lot of work to break down a stage and set it up every day. So we have a sound professional who has a lot of experience in the industry working with bands and working with venues to make things right the way that each venue is hoping that the sound will come across. So all that to say, we have the ability to tailor our sound and volume levels to suit I guess what would be called sort of an industry standard, if there is such a thing, with the decibel level. Just give a little information about what we do with the Stage at Home Place. We have music 2 nights a week, through the week, that ends at 8:45. We have a hard cutoff for musicians at 8:45 p.m. so they can, and we close at 9 through the week. So that gives everybody a good time to get everything broken down. And certainly through the week, we don't want to be going, certainly past 9 o'clock. So we've told the musicians to be done playing at 8:45. Through the weekend, we've been going until 9:30 to 9:45. We have a hard cutoff at 9:45 for music through the Friday and Saturday nights. We often do not have music on Friday. It's typically been every Saturday that we have music, and we just ask for that extra hour. I think the proposal is 9 p.m. for every day, but we would be very appreciative if we could potentially move that until 9:45 or 10. 9:45 is when we have the hard cutoff for music. We're not trying to be a super late night music venue. I understand. I grew up here. I know the town and its sensibilities and what we expect as a town to both foster in terms of growth and atmosphere for new people visiting our area as well as our residents. So, being a super late night venue and causing a lot of loud noise late at night is not something we're trying to do at all. And we hope that it's been received that way for the most part. I understand that, there's been a few moments where before we hired our sound professional, that there was some louder nights, and we've worked to get a handle on those issues where it was maybe a little louder than some folks would like, and I certainly sympathize with that. And don't disagree. I think we should definitely have a contained level of sound for our town, even on the weekends. We hope what we're doing will benefit the town's civic life and bring visitors to our area. Thank you guys for taking this on. And if you have any questions for me, just let me know. Thanks.
While you're up there, John, I have one, and you kind of hit on this. We've been beating around with like different people who's been talking to us about, would you rather have the time frame or the decibel level?
I think the time frame.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I've talked to Brian about it. It's hard to judge decibel level.
Sure.
I mean, there's some people who are around that area on both sides that are close.
Yes.
So they're gonna get hammered, but not as long as we keep the time frame. I think that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, John. All right, that's all we have signed up for public hearing on the noise ordinance. I have a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion closed. Second.
All in favor? All right, I'll kind of, I guess, open up to the council for discussion moving forward. It's my understanding, Heather's told me this, that if we can come up with a proposal that everyone agrees on, that we would have to call a special meeting sometime next week to actually vote on that. Because we don't actually have one in front of us because we really don't know exactly which direction we're going to go. So I'll just kind of open up the floor. Randy, if you want to kind of start with your, what your idea is.
I think what John said is kind of what I'm hearing from all the people around that I've talked with, and I think 8:45 and 9:45 is great. I think you and I talked about maybe 10, so that's even, if we went to 10 on Friday and Saturday, but yeah, through the week. And not so much in the summer as it would be when school's in and that kind of thing. But I'm fine, myself, I'm fine with 8:45 and 9:45. Would be what I would feel comfortable with. And I guess I laid it up to Brian as far as whether or not we go with decibels or not.
think it puts a lot of work on the police department and his staff.
Well, I think if we do that, I think it would be more up to John to, you know, give it a decibel meter and kind of,
It sounds like he is.
you know, monitor that on his own. That's not something that, you know, Brian's guys need to be down there checking, you know.
It's more complicated when you, I'm not saying we can't monitor the decibels, it's just if you set a straight time, it's a simpler thing for our guys to enforce, is all I'm saying. But we'll do whatever you all like.
And the other thing about decibel and what Brian has researched, you know, some people take the reading right at the stage, where other towns take it at the property line.
Right.
And you know, that, if you really wanna look at that property, you know, that could be at the third one up your street. I mean, in reality, if you wanted to put all that together as far as the property owner.
And I guess out of the whole council, you're probably closer than anybody.
And I really think too, I think it's just where you're located around the venue. Because I've noticed, like, I don't really, I mean, I have to be out on the porch and I have to really listen to even hear, and I can get wisps of it. But like where I park, maybe down the alley by Mr. Hammond's, you know, I really hear it. So I think to be fair, it really should be more of a time consideration, because some people are going to hear a little bit more than others, and as long as it's with a reasonable time and being conscientious with that, I think that might be the way to go.
9:45 to 10, if I go out somewhere, I want to at least hear music till 10.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at as well. I mean, the reality is, in the summertime, it don't even get dark till, you know, 9:30.
Yeah.
So I think 10 o'clock would be more than fair.
Was any of the places you polled, were they over 85 or all 85 and under?
That would seem to be the cutoff as far as anything that was allowed. And most of those did go till, those that had times, they had a different time for Friday, Saturdays as opposed to Sunday through Thursday. They usually had a separate time for Fridays and Saturdays, usually about an hour later. It's typical from what I found from smaller towns in North Carolina.
It's weird the way the way the sound goes, because I live up on Reservoir, and when they have the craft fair, I can hear people talking on the square. And you can't hear what they're saying, but you can hear them. When that fire whistle goes off, it's like, oh.
I think it's a lot of wind direction too.
Yeah, it's just right
If
at
the
that.
wind
Yeah,
current gets it.
it doesn't bother me.
Can we get also guidance on a starting time? Because sometimes we have, you know, festivals, events on the square. It's not always just a nighttime venue at a business. Like, what do y'all think? I mean,
Nothing starts
Yeah,
before
that's more important than nighttime.
Yeah. 8 or 9. And there's nothing ever
You
before
mean
8.
to start?
Yeah.
Well, you know, there may be things like craft fair and stuff where they want to have a band in the daytime.
I think it usually starts at 9.
9.
Craft fair starts.
9 in the morning.
I would say 8 AM. Everybody should be up maybe by 8, shouldn't they?
If it's not,
well, now you're not just talking about music. You're talking about lawnmowers and all kinds of stuff. But, you know, you're just talking about noise in general.
well, I thought you was talking about 8 and
Oh, yeah.
at night. No, that's 8 or 9 is
Yeah.
great.
Of course, I guess the way it's currently written, we have our basic general rule, you know, and then what Brian's proposed is a series of exceptions to that general rule. The general rule is if you're making enough noise to bother your neighbor, they can make a complaint that will be addressed.
But is this strictly entertainment?
I started to say, if you're following this, if this is what we're going with, the only exception is for commercial entertainment vehicles.
I mean, Rick might get out with his lawnmower at 6 in the morning, and I'm like, man, it's too early.
Right, right. And I've had some neighbor disputes over that. This wouldn't change that at all, because that's not an entertainment venue. The only other thing to make sure that we mentioned is your consideration of whether you want to put in the possibility of someone getting a permit that goes above and beyond for a special event. That language was in here. If you'd like to include that, that's fine, but that does give someone, if they were, I mean, I tried to think of exceptions, you know, the only exception we have here is basically commercial entertainment venue, but maybe something big was going on at the fire department that was gonna cause Niles gonna have his band over there or something. You're gonna get the band back together, I don't know. But if that happened, that's in a residential, so you would have a mechanism you could go through to potentially get a special one-time temporary type permit thing. I put that language in there, so just in case you all wanted to consider that, if things that wouldn't fit necessarily within these particular exceptions.
Fireworks.
Fireworks might be one, I don't, they usually, yeah, I mean, there's exception in here for fireworks, but there could be other events that wouldn't necessarily fit those exceptions. You would have a mechanism for them to go through to get that approved.
I mean, if we say 9 o'clock, the fireworks don't start till 9:30.
Right.
Then they-
There is an exception here for fireworks in
Ah.
particular, but there could be other things like that.
Well, how do you limit that to, and I'm just gonna use John since he's spoken, but, you know, John says, well, you know, I've got this particular band that everybody's wanting to, you know,
Correct.
like how many, you know, Gordy can't come every week and
Well,
say, we're gonna run this till midnight.
You mind if I read this part?
I'm not-
We actually
I'm not saying he would, 'cause I know.
work that
he
language
wouldn't,
in there somewhat to where it goes through permitting with the chief of police, and the chief of police has about 10 things that he considers. A lot of those is how many applicant times they've applied in the past, about whether they even approve it or not. You know, how much the time of this application, the previous experience with the applicant, if we've had problems there before, that's a reason for denial. The nature of the event, how frequent that applicant has applied before, so if they're not just coming every weekend to apply for some sort of exception. That language is in there to give some, again, there's some discretion there, but some guidelines about when those permits shouldn't be issued, if you want to go that route. You don't even have to put that exception in, I put that in there just in case, I thought there might be something in the future, some festival, some event that we hadn't thought of that might not fit with one of these exceptions, so there would be a mechanism for getting those.
Well, and also this would allow for permitting in residential areas.
It would allow
So if
exceptions.
you had something like at the library, they wanted to have some
Right.
kind of an event, or the Parkway Playhouse wanted to have
That
some kind
exception
of
could
an
apply to
event.
any zone, as long as they met criteria.
They would need to get a
documented
permit.
process.
The History Association want to shoot the cannons again.
There's no permit for that. I lived through that.
So from your lawyer's head, what do we do? Write it and read it for a week and then be ready to vote on it?
You know, I think we can put it together pretty quickly in ordinance form, and then, you know, we can distribute it, and then we would obviously have to have a public meeting, you know, to approve it,
Gotcha.
so.
Which wouldn't be no earlier than Tuesday. Would be the earliest, so. It sounds like that everybody's pretty much in favor of 8 AM to 10 PM for Friday and Saturday, and 9 PM the other 5 days. Is that what I'm kinda hearing?
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
That work? Chad, did you get that?
Nope,
Okay.
part of it.
And I like
8 to
the part
10
of
on
having
weekends and
Sure.
8 to 9 on
Perfect.
weekdays.
Buffer.
Yeah,
And then Lou Brown's piece of that.
Okay.
because that would fall into.
Yeah, I
so
think
like
we
if
should
John-
definitely include that in the exception.
Okay.
And say like, I'll use John as an example too, say like, so if John had a special extra band that came, he could come to us and say, we want to play till 11 this certain time, and that would fall underneath that
Yeah.
permit thing.
That exception would
That
allow them to
exception.
apply for that.
He would
permit.
come to Brian to do that.
If he came every
council.
Friday
just go
night,
to
yeah,
Brian.
it's been special.
Oh, perfect, okay,
So be, yeah.
I like that.
So that way, then we can just point our finger at Brian.
Yeah.
It's 11 o'clock. All right, any other comments or discussion on that?
Way you felt like it's
All right, we'll move on. Item number 5, under presentations, we have none, correct, Chad?
Correct.
All right, Ms. Hockaday with the manager's report.
Okay, I'm gonna pull this down. I want to breathe on nobody, but, so you can hear me. So project updates. FEMA, all of our projects that we submitted have been obligated as of this afternoon. And so the next step, been working with our representative from DPS, which is North Carolina, on North Carolina DPS, on, you know, how we procure these services to either engineering or construction contracts. We do have a list of scope of work for each project now, and so we'll be putting that together. Shane and I will be working on that in the next week, trying to get that out, and we think we can procure it under the federal procurement policy for small projects. So we think estimates, we won't have to have formal bidding, so hopefully that will move us along. We just have to get a good sampling of estimates. They usually ask for 3, and then we also, we always have a little trouble finding historically underutilized businesses, either minority or female owned, in the construction trades in our area. But I think I have a few that we can at least send email requests to. The next project is our old fire department renovation for the police station and public works. I'm sad to say that the Department of Commerce did not fund us for a rural transformation grant. We got some feedback from them, and basically they said what they were looking for in this first round were projects that were going to do something to enhance economic activity, and that this was a good project, but it didn't do that. So they only funded 30 statewide. So we're looking at other funding options. One would include going through French Broad Electric and the USDA Red Leg program. The other idea is maybe looking at what rates are available for local governments just with commercial lenders. So we're going to look at some of that and hopefully bring it back to you guys the next meeting, a plan kind of moving forward. We've also, on a side note, we had the students from App State work on this project and put together a plan. But we need engineer and architect stamps, seals, approvals of those things. And there's some things like mechanical and electrical and plumbing and code and things like that were not covered by what the students did. I've reached out to a couple of different engineers and architects, and I heard back today from Chelsea Helms, who was the program leader with App State, and they have an architect who has worked with them, worked on this project with the students, and he has kind of left adjunct teaching now and is back full-time as an architect. He is interested in working with us on this. So I'm going to reach out to him tomorrow and see what he can do to help move this project along, get our plans, construction bid ready. Next project is our CDBGI West Sewer Interceptor Project. This is the replacement or rehab of the sewer line in the manholes from West Main going down towards Pine Swamp to the sewer treatment plant that we received the $2 million grant last year for. They have pretty close to completing their surveying, field surveying for the project, and they are working on getting that survey together, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. And we have move on from there to the design phase. So I talked with the engineer this week, and he feels comfortable that we're hitting our milestones with DEQ on that project. Exciting news about the grant applications that we sent in May to DEQ for some of the ARPA funding that the state had given DEQ for water and wastewater. We submitted 5 applications. 4 were for projects, 2 sewer, and 2 drinking water. And 1 was on a current loan that we already had. DEQ has submitted their recommendations to the State Water Infrastructure Authority, which is commonly called SWIA. SWIA meets next week on July 13th and 14th, and they will approve, hopefully, the recommendations. They recommended funding, grant funding for 3 of our projects, and then loan funding for the other 2. So we'll see what shakes out at the SWIA meeting, and hopefully in August we'll have some information back for you guys about which projects we're actually gonna get grant funding for, and then what possible loan terms are for some of the other projects. So that's a good thing. So that's really what I have for projects, other than I met with Jamie and the county manager today to talk about the county's ARPA funding that they received in a direct allocation from the state budget last year. Since that time, this year, amendments to that state budget have come about, and one of those amendments is for an additional $3 million to Yancey County to go towards our wastewater treatment rehab project. So it has passed the House and the Senate. The whole amendment to the budget has gone to the governor's office, and I'm sure his staff is reviewing it, and we're hopeful that he will sign, and then we will have that funding in place. But there is quite a bit of other funding available that came to the county. Their initial funding amount was $13 million just for water and sewer projects. They would like to have a joint meeting with you guys and the commissioners. This is the county manager and I talked about this. So we can sort of talk about the different projects and sort of get them, since they're not in the water and sewer business on the daily, get them up to speed on sort of what projects we have, what things may be funded by SWIA, what's going to be left, and what other projects they might be interested in us moving forward. So I'm going to throw out a couple of dates. Both of them are Tuesdays, July the 26th or August the 2nd at 5:30. Evening, yeah. Not in the morning, Bill. 5:30 in the morning.
That's what I'm saying, either or, that's what I'm telling you.
I would love the 2nd.
The 2nd? Okay.
If everybody's good with it.
I can do that.
Okay, so I will tell her the 2nd. Her board meets next Monday, and she'll propose that date to them, and we'll let y'all know, okay?
Other than that the first grant you were talking about, that does include the sinkhole, right? The ones that's
For the
approved.
FEMA, yes, it does. It does. So, and that probably will be one of the first ones we get to, because that's a smaller project. Okay, I've had a request from Elaine Boone with the History Association. She would like to host the council for a lunch at the History Museum, the house, McElroy House. Wednesdays are when they kind of have people up there. So I told her that I would throw that out to you guys, and I don't know what everybody else has got on Wednesday at noon, or if Wednesday at noon just can't work. If you want to throw out some dates, it doesn't have to be necessarily in July, it could be in August.
That's very kind of them.
Yeah.
They just want to, I think, talk about some of the programming that they anticipate having and some of the things they want to do up at the house, and let everybody know, you know, if the lunch isn't going to work, I can tell her that, and maybe they could come do a presentation to the board, but that was her suggestion, so I told her I would pass it on.
I'm good August 3rd and August 24th.
I know August 3rd, High Country Council of Governments has something, but that's over at 12, I believe.
I'd prefer more the end of the month just because we have crafts fair.
Yeah.
But how would that work for
Now you're talking about July,
August?
yeah, as long as I get my schedule a month ahead, because they give us a calendar with
So
If
you
it's
want
in-
me to
if
throw
it's
out
in
the
evening, doesn't make
24th?
any difference.
You want me to throw out August the 24th? Possibility?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
I'll
good,
re-
I'm actually good 24th and 31,
Okay,
if we go then.
all right. I'll reach back out to her and then, and let y'all know. Next item I have is search for new IT services. Janice has decided she likes watching babies better than she does taking care of her computers. And she and I have been having this conversation for about, I don't know, a year now. And we finally have sort of moved on it, sent out, she helped come up with a scope of work, and we sent that out to several companies. And she's in the process of kind of answering questions and meeting with them and showing them where our stuff is. We've had responses from two. One in Asheville, we've not heard anything.
Are they both in Asheville?
No, one is here locally, one actually is in Hickory. It's a person that she's worked with extensively through the school system and otherwise. And so I'm hoping that we'll have an opportunity, you know, to come back to y'all at the August meeting with a proposal or her recommendation. The next thing I have on my list is a letter of appreciation from Annabelle's Haven. So for those of you who don't know, Mary Honeycutt has founded this organization, Annabelle's Haven, and she is trying to get a domestic violence facility located here in Yancey County. Does great work, or is interested in doing a lot of great work. They're kind of just getting out of the gate, but they had a fundraiser here at the town center, and she sent me a very nice short letter that I wanted to let you all know about. Recently, Annabelle's Haven rented out the town center for our June 11 fundraiser. It was at this time I met Corbin Cooper. From the first introduction, I was impressed with Corbin's attention to details and his caring and friendly personality. At 3 o'clock the day of our concert, he was already waiting on us to help set up with a welcoming personality. He was consistently cooperative and did everything in his power to make our experience stress-free. Corbin stayed throughout the concert and helped us clean up. In fact, he stated he would handle the cleanup. While cleaning, our banner tape took some of the paint off the wall. Without hesitation, he immediately got a ladder and fixed the issue. I wish to commend you on a wonderful, caring employee you have in Corbin Cooper, who made our experience stress-free.
Whoa.
Thank you, Corbin, for your good work, and recognize you for that. I get lots of compliments on Corbin in the town center. And then the last thing I have is my tax report, which actually at this time is the annual tax settlement. Find where I put my copy of it. This I have to, by law, present as the tax collector each year to the council, and you should have that in your packets. As of January 30th of this year, we had collected 98.22% of the levy for the 2021 taxes. So I think Jackie certainly should be commended for the hard work that she does in the front office, dealing with customers and also staying on people regularly. She and I sat down last week and went through a list of still delinquent accounts, sent out some pre-foreclosure letters, and offered people payment plans, and it's already netted it. One of our largest delinquencies has signed a payment plan and made a significant payment on theirs. So hopefully those went out the end of last week, so we hope that will get some people fired up to come in and pay their taxes. And then the next thing is I will need a motion to accept the annual settlement from you guys.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
And then the next thing is order of collection for the coming year taxes. Before we know it, we'll be sending out bills. So I need an order of, there's an order of collection in your packet, and I just need approval for that.
Motion or second?
I'll make the motion. Randy second. All in favor?
Yeah.
And that is all I've got at this time.
Thank you, Heather, for your report. We'll move on to Mr. Chad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've got 3 items for you. The first one being a road closure request. As part of the summer sizzling series with PATH, the Sheriff's Department is requesting a closure of the northwest corner of the square so that the event can take place in the church parking lot and the square, and the kids can pass back and forth between the two safely. It's on August 20th, with the request being from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I think Shane's here, and he's had some discussion with Brian about this as well, if y'all have any questions.
We'll need to make a motion.
Or just direct us to proceed with it through DOT.
Yeah.
All good for that? Okay, great. We'll get that in motion with Brian's help. My next thing is the retention schedule. I attached this to your packet Friday. It's our guide for how long we need to retain all the materials that we deal with, covering anything from personnel files to receipts from water bills, anything that we deal with, most of which we have to keep for a given period of time. They've done updates to it last fall, and they just request that our councils approve it, take a look at it and approve it. So that's what those are about. If we could get a motion on that, I'll get it to the State Archives in Raleigh that y'all were okay with it.
Motion, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Motion carries.
And my other item is with Crafts Fair coming up, our council meeting typically would be that Thursday, but historically we've moved it because of the vendors coming in and traffic and everything. I've got some dates. Normally it would have been on that 4th of August, but if we want to do it here at the town center, the Monday and Wednesday before and after that are all available. If any of those sound good, we could go ahead
You have
and
the
get that.
11th?
That Thursday, the following Thursday, the 11th, is available.
I could do that.
Is that your first one off, Randy?
Well, I was just keeping it on Thursday, but
Then you're gonna have to give me a copy when I bring my pen. Of all these days.
Heather,
Yeah.
you good with
Yeah.
that?
What?
11.
this 11th kind of help us get away from all that stuff so we get time for those to come in.
I'm fine with that. That's good with these.
August 11th sounds good.
Bill, 11th, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's what we'll do. That's everything I have for it.
Thank you, Chair.
You got it.
All right, Mr. Shane Dale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First on the list there is the gear drive at the wastewater treatment plant that you all have heard so much about, and it costs so much lately. But it is actually in, and everything's working pretty well at this point in given time as far as that portion of the sewer plant. The next thing on the list would be the new flex position. We really have not done a whole lot with that. We've got several applications, but I was on vacation last week, and this week we've not slowed down long enough to try to figure anything out. But we've got several applications in for that, and hopefully we'll have a good candidate out of that. Now for the bad news that Russell says I tend to lay out there a lot. The generator up there at the river pump station. I finally got the quote in from National Power. That generator is looks like it's gonna be about 71,000 and some change. But it's kind of a necessity up there in case the power goes down. That way you've got the opportunity of still making water. So I will put that out there for you all to see if you'll give me approval to try to purchase that generator and move on from there.
Yep. Doesn't sound like we have much of a choice. That's really the only company.
Pretty much, that's about everybody that you've got to deal with as far as on generators. And Generac is the generator that they've priced, and it's normally one of the cheaper versions. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still a good generator. It's everything that we use here is
What's
Generac.
typically the warranty on those, Shane? You have any idea? 3 or 5?
2-year standard warranty, according to this. That's a lot of money for 2 years of warranty. But that's more than just the generator. I mean, that is the fuel tank it is sitting on. That's also installation of that generator, or not installation, but the freight and everything to the job site, which is probably going to be pretty substantial. You can add a 5-year comprehensive warranty for another almost $1,400.
Well, I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I'd say
it's
that.
been-
Yeah.
But that would put that price up.
What's the timeframe on getting?
That's gonna be the thing. The current lead time right now is about 30 to 34 weeks. So I mean, yeah, if we call right now, you're looking at several months down the road before anything.
And we can
gets
budget
here.
for it next year.
Yeah, I was gonna say for
That's getting
Christmas.
pretty close.
Maybe we use that 3 minutes. Yeah. Is that a motion, or is that from Heather or Leslie?
No, we need a motion.
I'll make that motion. I don't think we have any other choice.
Well, it is what it is.
All in favor?
That's all I've got.
Thank you for the good news, Shane.
Oh, yeah, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I'll talk to him today. Leslie.
All right, since he's spreading all this joy, I was gonna say we beat the horse to death last month, so I didn't really have anything, cause we're fresh and new, but I guess in a while, we're gonna have to pay for this generator, so we'll have that sometime, but not this month, I don't guess. So,
Thank you, Leslie.
you're welcome.
We'll move on to Mr. Howell, Fire Department report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You do have the call report for the month of June, and we were up a little bit. We had 42 calls for the month of June, and a lot of them were fire alarms and automobile accidents. It's summertime, everybody's driving out there, so we had a lot of automobile accidents, and just an even spread through the rest of the call types. The operations side of the department, we did have our open house, and those of you that were able to attend, I hope you enjoyed yourself. It was a good event, I believe, and everybody seemed to enjoy seeing the new station. We also have begun our annual hose testing, and we've got a good start on that. We got our annual ladder testing completed last week, and so that's finished for the year. I have, for the last couple of weeks, been entertaining some of Burnsville Elementary summer camp. I've had 2 visits from some of their 3rd and 4th graders. I had 2 visits with about 35 3rd and 4th graders both times, so they've had a good time and enjoyed touring the fire station and having a little talk about fire safety. And they have a 3rd group that will be here toward the end of the month, so we're trying to do some community education along with that and get some word out there on how to take care of their families at home and that kind of thing. So we're working. And that's about all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Move on to Chief number 2.
Brian Siegel. Police department wise, I passed out our call logs and stuff for the meeting. We've had a pretty normal month, these summer months, mostly getting ready for Crash Fair coming up next month. I did want to make a note, we're going to several of our guys are going to be participating with some county officers in this upcoming active shooter training. With everything you see in the news and the headlines, they got that coming up middle of next month. It's going to be a 3-day training that they're putting on 2 times so that we can guys can go on their days off. They don't have to miss a day of work, we go on their days off to get this extra training. So we've been trying to be supportive of that. It's going to be, I think they're using Claremont School for some of the practical stuff they're doing along the classroom type work. Zoning and code enforcement wise, I don't have anything to bring to you. We do have a planning board meeting next week. There's several items on that agenda that'll be going out probably tomorrow, I think, they'll be making recommendations to this board regarding several items. So you'll probably see some activity in this board meeting from actions coming from there. That's pretty much what I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Thanks, Brian. Mr. Corbin, Town Center.
So just going back to Annabelle's Haven for just a moment, you know, with most events, there's a lot of stress that comes with the decorating, the planning, the food, the entertainment, and all that stuff. So I try to make it a priority to take as much stress off, make the renter feel as welcome as they can. So I just want to put that out there. I really enjoyed working with them. They were a little stressed when they came in, but I make it a priority, like I said, just to help them feel like everything's going to be okay. But on the other hand, we all make mistakes, and sometimes I do make mistakes. Working hard to push past that and to do better. But last month, pretty busy month. We had, I think, 23 events. This month we had 22. Tomorrow we're having Nick Chandler delivered, a bluegrass band coming in at 7 p.m. Doors will be open at 6. And then on, as Lucy had mentioned, July 15th, we have Michael Reno coming in. And I've heard good things about him, and it's an event involving Lucy, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
There will be cake.
Do what?
There will be cake.
Oh, cake. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot. Next month, just a touch fewer events, only 18 events next month. But after that, it really picks up. September and October is wide open. So other than that, I don't know anything else. If you have any questions, I want to answer.
Thank you, Corbin. Yeah, moving on to item number 9 on the agenda, council member reports. Anyone have anything they want to report on or talk about? Bill, do you have anything for High Country that you
But
want to report?
are we gonna have High Country on another one?
We don't have anybody from High Country here. If you want to speak on it, you can do it there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, but I understood in the last meeting that we are not going to combine counties, that they're going to leave things the way they were.
I had not heard the results of what they decided on that, so that's good news.
Well, I may be mistaken on that, but I thought they said that. And they had a couple of people from Appalachian State, and they are grants that they give funding for helping elderly and funding for child care, and they do serve Yancey County. So if anybody would be interested in that, I thought I brought the paperwork with me, but I didn't. They made a presentation there.
Randy, Denise, you guys got anything?
No, I'm good.
All right. We'll move on to Mr. Jamie McMahon with the EDC.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Lucy, I thought I heard you say that there was going to be a cake this week. Then I realized you said cake, and I was only slightly less excited. That's all right, too. A quick report from EDC for you guys. I would tell you, our board voted to award Downtown Entrepreneurship Assistance Program grant to Juliana Pittman, the new proprietor of Appalachian Job. I'm pleased to report to you that looking back over that program since we instituted, it's technically 4 years old, but we pressed pause on it in 2020 because of the COVID lockdown. We redirected that money to our COVID relief program. So in 3 years of that program, we've actually supported 15 businesses through that grant program through EDC. That's 15 new businesses in downtown Burnsville in that period of time. And I've been pleased to be able to be a part of those new entrepreneurs or existing businesses who are expanding to grow their footprint, bring their business to Burnsville. So we were very pleased to make hers the 15th grant that we've awarded out of that program. We just concluded our building reuse grant with Mountain Community Health Partnership in support of their clinic on Pensacola Road here in Burnsville. That was a $500,000 renovation project, and they have hired 16 new employees here to staff that clinic. So we're certainly very pleased to have worked with them on that project in the Department of Commerce for that funding, and happy to close that grant out this month as well. It was, as Heather mentioned earlier, certainly want to thank our legislative delegation for including the additional $3 million appropriation in this short session budget revision. We're hopeful that the governor signs that budget. We have a meeting with some of his staff on Monday to certainly impress upon him that we would certainly appreciate favorable view by him of that budget, certainly. It was a good bipartisan budget, really. It passed the General Assembly with good support. And I was thinking, as we were talking earlier today, and Danny often talks about the importance of water, sewer, and infrastructure to the town and to the county, to the entire community, certainly for business recruitment and retention and growth, it's important. And through the efforts of this council, through grants that you pursued and funding that you've obtained, in partnership with the county and projects that we've had, as I sat here and listened to Heather's report, I ran down the total of money that the town and county have received for infrastructure projects. That's $27 million worth of projects. That's a lot of money for this community. Probably as much money as has been leveraged for water and sewer infrastructure in quite a while, certainly in one chunk. So I look very much forward to your joint meeting with the commission to discuss the priorities that you have and how best to spend those funds. Some of them are allocated, of course, to certain projects, but if you look at that $27 million, you technically have a cushion of about $9 million that you guys can get together and look for some serious partnership on some projects that would move the community forward as far as developing infrastructure. And I think it bears mentioning that that's something that the community as a whole can be proud of. And I certainly want to thank you for your budgetary support in this coming fiscal year for Yancey EDC. We appreciate all that the town does in sponsoring the work that we do. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Yeah, while you're up there, could you speak just a second on those 67 beds? I know it was on the front of the paper today, and is whether that's gonna go to Mission or Advent, or do you have a link?
I don't have a link. It's interesting to see, and I've had some conversations with some of our colleagues in Madison County. Certainly, I think it would be fair to say that we would have appreciated the designation of a location somewhere with one of those healthcare systems that would have been, say, north of Asheville or the north end of Asheville. I understand the decision-making process behind phasing the investment around, construction of a hospital where you have population centers. From my point of view, and this is just, I wouldn't editorialize or say this is a position of any body or organization other than my position. Certainly Advent, we've been pleased with their community outreach and engagement and their willingness to talk about locating additional clinics and providing additional service further out from the plant of their physical plant of their hospital, which has been designated for Inca Candler, if that selection moving forward. I would think you would get a good community partner with them. If Mission, HCA, received those beds, then pragmatically speaking, that facility is closer to us for emergency transport and that type of thing. I guess the location that's probably of least benefit to us in Yancey County would be if Novant received designation to build their hospital because they selected that site to be in Billboard Park, which of course is the south end of Asheville, and I don't like to try to travel to the south side of Asheville on any day. So I don't have any leaning which way that will go. In the public comment period now, certainly I think that's open for public comment to the State Department.
Well, and that was kind of where I was waiting for Heather and you both was, if those 67 beds go to HCA and we don't have any more staff to work those beds, that's not a lot.
Staffing is a concern. You know, it's interesting, even across all the healthcare systems, if you read the news today, Novant had gotten beaten up over a comment that they had made about having a non-union position as their corporate position. Of course, they were beat up to come back and clarify, well, we didn't mean anti-union, so, I think that friction there, and you see a lot of leverage with the healthcare industry, people who are in that industry. I mean, the labor markets are tight, employees can demand, a larger share at the bargaining table as far as that goes, but you might have similar issues within the healthcare system that would look to build a plan out.
So Advent going to Incas, is they're after Haywood instead of coming in on 40?
I think that from conversations that they've had, of course, Haywood is not in that service area, but they are basically at the other end of Asheville.
Yeah.
Which means you can claim the 300,000 folks that are in Buckham County just from the other end that's not HCA. So I understand where that's coming from. It makes sense when we say it.
Gotcha. Thank you, James.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Jimmy. All right, Ms. Christie.
Good evening. Thank you guys for having me again. And once again, sorry to have to follow Jamie.
You talk to Chad every other time.
Just an update on what we've been working on at the chamber. I did enjoy the open house at the firehouse. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I got to sit in fire trucks. So that was a lot of fun. And great to learn about what they've got out there. In addition, this past month I was lucky enough to be out at the planetarium and check that out. A new great addition to our county, as well as being at the ribbon cutting and open house for the new wellness center up at Mountain Air, and shared with a lot of community members up there the great things that we've got going on down here in Burnsville, and hopefully getting some of them to come on down from the mountain. This month, we have next week our Remote Workers Networking event. I'd love to see any of you at it, regardless of whether you're remote workers. It's at the wine store. And then we've got a business after hours and a business breakfast coming up on the 21st. Both of them, one here at the town center at 9:30. It'll be later than normal this month because we're partnering with the Western Women's Business Network to put that on. Then the business after hours will be at Parkway Playhouse. So, and if you weren't aware of it, even though it's been mentioned several times tonight, we're putting on a crafts fair in a little less than a month. We will be full. We'll be going all the way up North Main Street. So looking forward to having another really great event, and just continuing to plow through all the work of getting that done and staying above water. Any questions? Anything else that you guys are concerned about for Crafts Fair?
Don't think so.
Good, me neither.
Thank you, Christie.
Zero concern.
Nobody's here from High Country. I would like to say, it's kind of out of place here, but I was thinking about Brian's report there, especially with Shane being in the audience today. I would like to say that I'm pleased to hear that, that we're, and I know that you've done it in the past, but to hear that you're working together on this active shooter training. Shane, I appreciate what you've done pushing for the resource officers in all the schools, and I think the way that we reacted to the scare that we had previously, that you have our full support as far as the town and Brian's men, and I'm glad that you guys work together the way you do. Hopefully that'll never be used, but I want to thank both of you for what you do. I've got kids out there, as you guys do, and it's very important to be ready for that situation if it ever occurs. So thank you.
Just along that note, and I meant to mention during my update, but we started, after that incident, we started discussing how some of our officers maybe weren't as familiar with their close by schools as they needed to be. So the sheriff was receptive to it, and we talked, and they worked up a schedule, and like one day a week maybe every other week, one of our guys goes out and just walks through some of the schools, just to make sure they're familiar with who the town guys are, because we may be one of the first ones responding to those. And again, the sheriff was very responsive to that, about having our guys out there in the school system with as well.
What, Brian, just what's your protocol right now? I mean, I know like Blue Ridge, Mount Heritage, and Burnsville Elementary, if we did have a situation, we're obviously, but is that countywide? I mean, if we.
Yeah,
had a
we have a
situation-
mutual aid agreement with the county, so
We're just-
we could respond to help with any of those. It's just, those are the ones they're primarily going to visit, because they would be the ones, we might be the first one or two officers on scene.
Right.
What?
Oh, yeah.
East James, yeah, all the ones that are close by, our guys are making some more regular visits too.
Great.
Especially you, I mean, you was kind of laid out different.
Yeah. And some of our guys have never been through any of those schools, so we're making them more familiar with the layout and that kind of thing.
Hopefully that never occurs, but I do appreciate the training and the relationship that you two have. Good. Thank you. All right. Nobody has anything else? Next meeting that we agreed is August the 11th. At 6 p.m.
6 a.m.
If nobody else has anything, we'll get a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
All in favor? All right. Thank you to everyone.
Thursday.